This looks quite nice. Looks to be cranberry flavoured. Lovely. Ooh. Tastes a bit hot. Oh, some more. Oh, move. Oh, it's like the screaming shitsies. I'm out of here. I see. This is far from dignified. Oh, I hope Mavis and Olive don't see this. They'll never end with it. Seems to be filled up with poo.
If you're old enough to remember when Pizza Hut was good, you've probably at least heard of Conker's Bad Fur Day. The game is a 3D platformer developed by Rare and released for the N64 in 2001, and yes, really, 2001, on the N64. You are correct, my well-informed viewer. Final Fantasy X did come out 4 months later on the PS2, and yes, the GameCube also came out only 6 months after this game was released. No, I do not know why they didn't just try to put it on the GameCube at that point, but it might have had something to do with the theme. You may have heard of Rare before. They've been making games for a long time, and they've got a catalog that stretches all the way from Battletoads in 1991 to Battletoads in 2020. They have made a few cult classics like Perfect Dark, Wizards and Warriors, and Sea of Thieves, but they're probably most famous for Viva Pinata. They're all fine games, but not really what I would call cultural touchstones. There was a time when Rare was one of the biggest names in the gaming business, you know, back when Jeanco jeans were fashionable. Rare had a tendency to follow in Nintendo's footsteps, and Bad Fur Day, then titled Conker 64 and later Conker's Quest, was supposed to be their great value Mario 64 alongside Banjo and Kazooie. It was intended to be another family-friendly romp around a bright, colorful cartoon world with a cute squirrel mascot. In fact, there was another team inside of Rare that produced a tie-in game for the Game Boy Color called Conker's Pocket Tales, where the evil Acorn King had stolen Conker's girlfriend Barry, and then he had to go and save her and find his missing birthday presents. But development on the N64 game took so long that even though it was started later, that Game Boy game was finished first. Unfortunately, when Conker's Quest was shown off at E3, the reception was pretty negative. People were saying that it didn't look as good as Banjo and Kazooie, and that Rare only made games for kids. So, like any child who becomes embarrassed for being seen as immature, they desperately overcompensated into edgy teenage humor. Conker would become a game for frat boys and the kind of tweens who thought Crank Yankers was funny. As part of this pivot, the game was advertised in places like Playboy magazine and on nightclub urinal mats. They ran adult-themed coloring pages and commercial spots and gave out Conker-branded condoms. Believe it or not, this didn't work out well, and despite positive critical reception, sales were abysmal. I'd like to blame it all on the brain-dead marketing campaign, but like I said in my Devil May Cry review, 2001 was a bad year to be a game on the shelf if you weren't a complete goddamn rock star. Conker wasn't a rock star. It was a game with no audience. The kids who would have thought it was cool because of the cursing and the polygonal titties couldn't get it, and for adults it was overpriced and exclusive to an outdated platform with a shitty controller. Not to mention that there were other games you could play that wouldn't have people looking at you like you have a weird fetish. I turned on Conker for the first time in 2025 expecting a very early 2000s South Park style of comedy that would be mostly cringe-inducing toilet humor, pop culture references, and misogyny, and I was not incorrect in that assumption. It has all of that, as well as slippery platforming, clunky first-person shooting, and a boss fight with a big singing pile of shit that goes on for far, far too long. So that's the story, right? Rare didn't know what they wanted to make, they were chasing a trend, had a knee-jerk reaction, and targeted the wrong audience. They made a bad game and no one bought it. Well, surprisingly, no, that's not the story. At least not the whole story. What I'm trying to say is that Conker's Bad Fur Day is actually kinda good?
I don't bloody believe it.
I know, I couldn't believe it myself. Underneath the literal mountain of poop jokes, the incredibly stale references, and yes, the misogyny, Conker is actually still pretty funny. Even more importantly than that, it's also still fun to play. The characters are interesting, there's a huge amount of gameplay variety, and it managed to keep surprising me in small ways for the majority of its runtime. It all works together so well that it's a wonder that it existed on the N64, a console that I still think of as having like 10 good games in its entire library.
Shove it up your ass!
I don't want to get too into the story, but let me give you a little context. The game opens with Conker out for a night of hard drinking, making excuses to his girlfriend Barry about why he's not coming over and wandering off into the rainy night. Then we're introduced to Birdie, the scarecrow, who explains the concept of these context-sensitive pads. Bad Fur Day doesn't have much in the way of puzzles, and honestly I appreciate that. It feels like everyone and their mother in this generation of gaming was pushing around blocks or standing on buttons to start a timer for a door. Instead, it operates on a kind of a cartoon logic where everything Conker could ever need is conveniently in his back pocket, and all he needs to do to use it is to find the right place to press the B button. This includes throwing knives, a slingshot, explosives, turning into an anvil, or whatever else the game needs at that moment, and that's why it's
Context sensitive. Clever.
In any other game, I would have expected these buttons to be replaced with some kind of fetch quest or inventory management system. The player would need to hit a tree to knock down chestnuts to fill the ammo pouch for the slingshot, but it can only carry 5 shots, oh no. And it would suck, right? We wouldn't even think to complain about it because we're so used to it by now, but it would still suck. Instead, Bad Fur Day has a real sense of fuck it running through it.
Hello, it's me again. Mr. Scarecrow Birdie. Right, what seems to be the problem? Oh yes, you need manual. Otherwise, doesn't work. Manual, cost you.
Oh, how much?
Got any Mepsi Pucks?
What?
Don't matter. Actually, I think, $10. Long time. You'll have manual long time.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Manual. Just press B.
Would you believe me if I told you that I kinda like the little guy? I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still a bit of a dick, but depending on who you ask, so am I. He's not cruel or mean-spirited, though he's not shy of violence either, and he's not above role-playing as R. Kelly in the occasional nightclub. Still, he's not robbing anyone's grandma or running over prostitutes when he's done to get his money back. No, Conker's ultimate goal is simply to get home. Somehow, on his drunken odyssey, he managed to get lost and wound up in a new land, kind of like Jack finding Christmas Town. Distractions and detours abound, but at the end of the day, Conker is just minding his own business. All he really wanted was directions, and instead, people keep dumping their problems on him.
Gee, so many people around here want me to solve their problems. What are you gonna do for me then?
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. You get rid of that freaking mouse critter, and maybe I'll help you out. Just maybe.
Most of the creatures he comes across are immediately aggressive for no real reason, and I don't mean in the normal way you would expect in a video game. I'd like to give you an example. At this point in the game, I have left the tutorial area and I'm walking up a hill next to the zone entrance.
Alright, who's this?
It's like one of them skills.
Why don't you get down there and kick the shit out of him?
Alright, well, wait till he comes up here, alright.
Okay then, yeah.
I've done literally nothing to these guys. A random wolf on the overworld map in Final Fantasy never said, I'm gonna kick the shit out of that guy. Even the characters who don't immediately attack Conker are generally trying to take advantage of him, so I don't blame him for not working for free. He's doing his best in a world full of assholes, and you might be able to sympathize with that. He'll get paid for his help, but you can't actually spend the money he makes. Instead, that money is the key that lets you progress the story. Usually, it's enough to just do whatever's asked of you, but the game isn't specific for the last gate, and it can be really annoying, so I'll just tell you that the guy in the barrel next to the windmill wants $2,110, and that means collecting every bit of the money you come across in all of the areas that you go to, and some of those are much harder to get to than others. I had an especially difficult time getting the cash above this terrifying terrifying flower. Really, the whole section involving that flower was kind of terrible, but aside from a few that haven't aged well, the interactions with these side characters are the highlight of the game for me. I'd like to give you an example. Conker has helped someone outside of this barn, and as thanks, they told him to go in here and he'd find something awesome.
Hey, you over there.
Huh?
Yeah, you. Apparently there's something real neat inside this barn. I can't quite see it myself.
Unless, of course, some guy's jumping around stinking a horse poo's real neat.
Which, of course, it isn't.
This is pretty neat. Hey, Frankie! I think there's a little fellow over there. He's just coming in through the door. I think it's your turn to kick his... Is it your turn? Is it his turn?
Yeah, I say it was his turn. Yeah, Frankie, go and kick his ass. Go on, kick his ass.
I ain't kicking it, but it's always my turn to kick their asses. Frank, just get over there and kick his ass, Frank, for sake.
Yeah, go over there, kick his ass. Somebody's gotta kick his ass. It ain't gonna be me. I'm a boss. Yeah, you don't kick ass.
But I'm a paint pot anyway. I'm a paint pot. But kick his ass. Okay, I'll kick his ass. I'm not going over there. He can come over here. Okay. Hey, here he comes. Quick. Just keep still.
That's right. Just like in real life, you walk into a room and there's a little clique of dillweeds trying to hurt you. When that fails, they turn on their friend and start bullying him instead. Content warning here on the screen for the word that I'm apparently not allowed to say on YouTube.
Time, and that is the crappiest this kick-ass I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty crap. As kicking ass goes, it was abysmal, and you is a stupid bastard. Isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he sure is. So, what are you gonna do now? Kill yourself? Because that's what I recommend.
Yeah, you should kill yourself. And Matt, we got a rope right here. Haven't we got a rope?
Yeah, we got a rope. There you go.
What kind of friends are you? In that case, I is gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself right now. That's all there is to it. You.
What are you doing? You stupid bastard! He hasn't even got a neck.
Yeah, look at you up there hanging there. You stupid bastard. Ain't got a neck, are you? He ain't got a neck, has he?
I already said that. Shut up.
Okay. I don't believe this. I don't appear to have a neck of any description. In fact, I ain't got an esophagus. Oh, diddle damn. I is gonna be up here for some time.
This was exceptionally grim for a game with the same aesthetic as Banjo-Kazooie, but of course, this is a cartoon world. Conker has to go up and help the pitchfork get back down, but as he leaves the barn, a giant hay monster jumps down.
So, my nemesis is defeated. Yes, it's me again. Right, time to wander around aimlessly. Move.
I was not prepared for the escalation of the hay fork was keeping a much bigger evil at bay. After he saves the fork, they become friends. Conker finally shuts up the hecklers, and the two team up to fight the big hay monster. The ground caves in, and I don't want to spoil the second phase, but I think you get the point. Forget Mario, the side characters in Bad Fur Day could stand next to anyone from Spyro or Ratchet & Clank, and that's really high praise from me. Still, it's not all roses, and it would be unfair for me to only talk about what I liked. The second half of the game leans away from the platforming and the exploration and more into action set pieces, first-person shooting, and movie references, and it can be a kind of a drag. I've already mentioned that the shooting is janky, but there's also what you might call a darker tone in the back half of the game, and it loses some of that silly charm that worked so well because it was juxtaposed against the crass humor. A toddler saying fuck can be funny, a teenager saying fuck to get a reaction is just kinda cringy. A guy in his mid-30s on YouTube saying fuck is probably never gonna reach monetization, but oh well. The back half of the game is also the point where you start to see a lot more of these pop culture references, specifically to movies of the time like The Matrix, Terminator, Dracula, Aliens, The Godfather, you get the idea. When the game came out, I'm sure there were dozens of people pointing at their TVs like that Leo meme, but this is the problem with references. They age way faster than solid game mechanics or actual decent writing. I'm looking at you, Borderlands. Overall, I think Conker is still worth your time. It's less than 10 hours long, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. The overarching plot is barely there, but if you don't mind that, there's plenty of fun to be had in the moment-to-moment gameplay. It's one of the rarer N64 carts out there, but the rare replay version isn't a bad compromise if you're uncomfortable with emulation, though as of this writing, it's only available on Xbox. Who knows, with everything else going to PlayStation, maybe that one will be in greener pastures soon too. If you made it this far, thanks for hanging out. If this is the first of my videos you've seen, there's a constantly growing backlog of dubious quality for you to play in the background while you're working or eating or cranking your hog. I don't know your life. Check it out if you'd like. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Later.